Hello everyone and welcome to a new video on the Colombians Football Report. Today we'll be going over day 27 of the 2026 FIFA World Cup. Now before we get into the games, there's multiple things I need to talk about. So first off, make sure you subscribe to the channel because 78% of the people who view my videos are not subscribed to the channel. So make sure that you subscribe so that I can continue to grow and make better content in the future. Now the next thing I want to say is that this upload is very late because day 27 happened on July 7th and it's July 11th as I'm recording this. So yeah, it's a very late upload, but I was very busy in the past few days, and also day 27 of the World Cup was just a very hard day for me because, well, obviously I'm a Colombian football fan, and my national team got eliminated on this day, so I'm very behind. Yeah, because I was busy with family, and also this was a bad day for me. So, yeah, there's a lot of things I need to catch up to. But we'll talk about day 27, and then probably tomorrow morning before the England Norway game, you will see an upload of day 28 and 29, where I'll talk about France versus Morocco and Spain versus Belgium, even though they happen on separate days. Since both days only had one game, I can just make it into one video, so there's no big problem. I'll probably do the same thing for the semifinals now that I think about it. So yeah, that's all I wanted to say. Now we can finally talk about this. It's been a long time, and the first game that happened on this day was Argentina versus Egypt, and this was quite simply an insane game. I did not expect this game to be this close. I kind of expected Argentina to maybe learn their lesson against Cabo Verde, but they didn't. They really struggled in this game at times. And it was Egypt who got the lead in this game. They got a 1-0 lead after the center back, Ibrahim, he headed the ball in after an amazing cross from Ataya, which literally was pinpoint right on the head of Ibrahim. And there was nothing that Divo Martinez could do to save that shot. And Egypt had a shock 1-0 lead. But after that goal, which was actually, I think, deserved because I think Egypt they started the game really well. They really went at Argentina in the first few minutes of the game. Argentina after that they started dominating, which I think is expected, and eventually they got a penalty, which on the replay it did kind of look like a penalty. So I think it was the right decision from the referee. But Messi took the penalty, and it got saved by Chaubert, and that was the second penalty that Messi missed in the tournament, and that was a huge opportunity for Argentina to equalize the game, and they just couldn't equalize. And after that, they still had more chances, but Chaubert made many good saves in that first half. He really kept Egypt in the game. There was one that you made where the save was basically like point blank range, and he still made the save. It was absolutely incredible. And thanks to Egypt's very good start to the game, and then Chaubert having a masterclass after Argentina started to get back into the game, Egypt they went at halftime 1-0 up. Granted, they did have some bad news, and that was that Assur right at the end of the first half. He was clearly injured, so he ended up coming off right before the start of the second half. And in the second half, it was as expected. Egypt sitting back, trying to not let Argentina have too many dangerous chances. Already Chaubert making a save early on in the start of the second half. But Argentina, they didn't really have the most dangerous of chances in the second half as like they did in the first half. And Egypt, I think they were containing them very well. They were very good defensively. And they were also very good on their counterattack. And that's when they would end up scoring the second goal of the game after a brilliant counterattack, which involved the likes of Hassan, Salah, and Zico. And after a great play from Hassan with some fantastic dribbling, he passed it to Salah. And Salah had some space. He saw Zico. He put in a perfect pass to him, and Zico finished it off to make it 2-0 for Egypt. But after a VAR check, the goal was controversially disallowed. And the reason why it was disallowed is because when the goal was scored, right before that, the Egyptian player, I think it was Rabia, he made a foul on Lisandro Martinez right near the Egyptian box, and that led to Egypt winning the ball back. And then they went on a counterattack, went all the way to the other side of the field and scored. But the foul looked very soft. It looked like he barely even touched Lisandro Martinez's foot, but the goal was still disallowed, and it caused a lot of controversy. And it really felt like Argentina got really lucky to have that goal disallowed. They got a huge lifeline because if they went 2-0 down in that moment, it felt like they weren't going to come back. Because Egypt, at that point in the game, they were performing very well and they were containing Argentina well and they were doing good on the counterattack. But that goal was a huge escape for Argentina. But in the end, it didn't even matter because after another similar action where Egypt once again went on a counterattack, it led to Hassan making an assist for Zico, who tapped it in after a good cross from Hassan on the right hand side. And Hassan in this game was insane. His dribbling is so good, and it's interesting to see what moves he could get in the summer transfer window because he's definitely gotten a lot of attention after the game he had. And after Zico, he scored. It was 2-0 for Egypt. He finally had his goal. This one was not going to get disallowed like the other one he scored. And it really looked like that Argentina were going to go home. And if they went home, that would have been embarrassing for Argentina because Egypt at this point only had one win in their World Cup history. And that was in this same World Cup when they beat New Zealand in the group stage. But on the flip side, Egypt were so close to making history and reaching the quarterfinal of the World Cup, which would have been insane. Egypt have never made it that far, not even close. But it looked like they were finally going to do it. But in the end, there's something insane happened, and that was that Argentina they just randomly woke up, and after a good cross from Messi was finished off by Cuti Romero, who was attacking at this point. He headed the ball in, then Chauvert couldn't save it, and Argentina were now back into it with 11 minutes left in the game, and Argentina they kept applying the pressure, and after only 4 minutes, after Argentina got the goal to get them back into things they managed to equalize the game, and it was Messi. He was not having the best of games, but out of nowhere, he just had to make a goal and an assist to get Argentina back level. And the goal came after Egypt failed to clear a cross, which led to the substitute Montiel leaving it off to Messi, and Messi he just finished it into the goal. And I think Silver got a touch on it, but he couldn't keep it out. And Argentina they were back level 2-2. They scored 2 goals in 4 minutes. And now they had all the momentum because now they were attacking more. And now Egypt, they didn't know what to do. They completely lost control of the game. But they managed to weather the storm a little bit. And then they had some chances in the final minutes when they had a couple counterattacks. The substitute Marmoush had an opportunity where he just needed to lay it off to his teammate, but he failed to do that. Marmoush had a terrible tournament unfortunately for him. And then we got to the moment where even more controversy came, and that was when Egypt they were on the edge of the box. It was Mo Salah, and he was taken down, but the referee gave no foul. And after that, Argentina they themselves went on a counterattack which led to Lautaro Martinez, the substitute, being on the wing, and he put in a perfect cross for Enzo Fernandez to head it in. And Argentina, they made it to go from being 2-0 down to win 3-2 against Egypt right at the death. And the reason why this goal was controversial is because right at the start of the play, like I mentioned, Mo Salah, he went down on the edge of the box, maybe even inside the box. I don't remember. But either way, it kind of looked like he did get fouled but the referee didn't give anything. I don't even think there was a VAR check. And it was surprising because this action was almost exactly the same action where the Egyptian player made a soft foul on Lisandro Martinez and it led to Egypt having the goal disallowed. So this goal that Argentina scored was very controversial because there was a very similar play and this goal wasn't disallowed. Meanwhile, Egypt they had a similar play and their goal was disallowed. So obviously that got the Egyptians very mad. They started like a whole debate on the bench. The manager Hassan he got a yellow card, and also after the game, Zico made some statements saying that the game was fixed for Argentina. He basically said that, and same with Hassan, he also kind of said the same thing. So it was a very fiery ending to the game. But in the end, Argentina they held on and they won 3-2. They're now into the quarterfinals, where there will definitely be favorites to go through, despite the fact that they just had 2 games in a row where they really struggled against African teams. But they made it through. They're now in the quarterfinals, and what a game this was! Definitely one of the games of the tournament, but definitely a lot of controversy in this game. And now we get to the game where I didn't want to talk about this. And this game is one of the reasons why it took so long for me to make this video. And it's Switzerland versus Colombia. And we unfortunately got eliminated. And it's very disappointing because I thought that this team had everything to make it to at least the quarterfinals and to really give Argentina a tough game in Kansas City in the next game. But we never got to that next game because we lost to Switzerland. And there's a lot of things I need to blame here. Now, first of all, the fact that we lost this game, despite the fact that Switzerland, they had Manzambi injured, not even on the bench, and Ruben Vargas, he was only fit enough to be on the bench and play in the extra 30 minutes. It's very disappointing because this was a relatively weakened Switzerland team. And yet, despite that, Colombia couldn't take advantage. And why couldn't we take advantage? Because we were lacking creativity. We had some chances, but we couldn't finish them. And it felt like Switzerland knew how to control the game, even out of possession, because when we had the possession, it just felt like we were just passing it between the center backs and not really moving the ball forward. And then when we tried to move the ball forward, the only way we could do that was by launching the ball high up the field, which is not a Colombian way of playing. We're a team that like to play with the ball down low and make some quick passes, skills, and just be an exciting team to watch. Similar to like Brazil, but obviously not even close to being as good as prime Brazil. But still, the same idea is there. And that Colombia that we usually see was not seen. We played some very bad football. Granted, that does not mean that we didn't have some opportunities. In the first half, Gustavo Puerta had a very dangerous shot which had to be saved by Colbel, and it went out for a corner kick. But Camilo Vargas himself, he also had to make some saves throughout this game. And I do want to give a shout out to Vargas because I slandered him a lot after the first game, and a lot of Colombians also slandered him. But after that, in this World Cup, he had a very decent tournament. So fair play to him. But this is probably the last chance he ever had to represent Colombia in the World Cup due to the fact that he is now 37 and he will be 41 by the time the next World Cup comes. But I felt like in this game, Switzerland, they knew how to control us. Like, even when they didn't have the ball, they just didn't let us create much. James Rodriguez did nothing. When Quintero came off the bench, he was definitely better, but I felt like he could have done a little bit more. Luis Diaz, very disappointing tournament from him. He did nothing in this game. And Suarez, he had a chance where he could have shot the ball on target. He had a lot of space. It was true it was outside the box, but still, he should have at least gotten the ball on target. And he just managed to scuff his shot all the way almost to the corner flag. It was very embarrassing to watch. And despite the fact that, like always, our defense was very good. Both Lucumi and Davinson Sanchez had a big game. Our attackers didn't show up. And one of the few players who did show up was John Arias. And yet Nestor Alonso subbed him off, put in Hamilton Campas, and that didn't end well for us. And I'll explain why later. Also, eventually we subbed in Richard Rios, Cucho Hernandez. I think the Rios off the bench was actually pretty decent, but Cucho Hernandez, he really struggled to create an impact. Granted, I think he was slightly better than Suarez in this game. And also when I saw that Embolo got subbed off, I was very happy because I thought that him and Davinson Sanchez were having a really tough battle against each other. And Embolo, just that type of player who always shows up for his national team. So even though this game went to extra time, I still felt like we could win this game, but we couldn't. In extra time, I think we were definitely the better team. And if I think that's the first time I could truly say that because I think during the first 90 minutes, both teams were very equal. And Switzerland, they knew how to contain the game. But in extra time, we definitely started creating more chances than we did in the first 90 minutes. And Lukumi had a chance where his header hit the crossbar, and that was very disappointing because if that goal just went in, we would have won this game most likely. There was also a chance where we had a free kick. It was swung in, and the kick was kind of like cleared away a little bit, but it made its way to Campas, and then Campas, it looked like he was fouled inside the box, but nothing was given. I don't know if it was a penalty. To be honest, I didn't look at it back because after we got eliminated, I just didn't feel like looking back at anything in this game. Besides one moment, and that was when Campas in the 115th minute, he was one on one with the keeper, and he skied it. I've seen that chance many times already because I still can't believe he missed it. And the more I look at it, the more worse it gets because it's just such a bad miss. Like, he didn't even look up when he shot the ball. He just looked down. He really should have looked up before shooting, and that's one of the lessons that an attacker's always told when they first get into the court. You need to look up when you're shooting. Don't look down. And Campas didn't do that. It's a juvenile mistake, and that chance would have won us the game because there was only 5 minutes left, and we were playing much better at that point. And Switzerland, they would have been in shock. Only 5 minutes to equalize the game. I don't think they would have done it. And despite the fact that Switzerland, obviously, they had their chances. Right at the end of regular time, they could have had a penalty, but nothing was given. And Vargas had to make some saves. But besides that, I think Colombia in regular time and in extra time were a slightly better team. But we couldn't take our chances. And then it went to penalties. And when Colombia go to penalties, it always ends in tragedy because that's what happened in 2018. We lost to our European team on penalties in the World Cup, and now we just lost to another European team on penalties in the World Cup at the same stage as well in the round of 16. And the second penalty was kicked by Davinson Sanchez. And when I saw that he was going up, I was very nervous because we already seen center backs miss so many penalties in this World Cup. And the fact that Davinson Sanchez was the second man to go up is a really bad sign because he's a center back. Why didn't the attackers go up first? Why didn't Luis Diaz go second? Why didn't Richard Rios kick a penalty? Instead, he went to Davinson Sanchez and he hit the crossbar. And I really don't want to blame him because he's been amazing in the entire tournament. And he's a center back, so I don't blame him for missing a penalty. But it's just very disappointing for his teammates because why didn't they take it? Why did they leave it to a center back? It was so risky and we took the risk and it didn't pay off for us at all. And despite the fact that in Akanji he skied a penalty, it didn't matter because Kuch Hernandez had a penalty and it was well saved by Colbell. And after that, it looked like we were going to lose and we ended up losing. Despite the fact that Luis Diaz, Campas, and Juan Ferro all scored their penalties, Switzerland, they just scored more than us and we got eliminated. A very disappointing elimination. And I think when the World Cup ends, I'll talk about a video of the problems with Colombian football and how we can improve it. And that video will be much more in depth than these type of videos. And these type of videos are just quick videos going over all the games that happen in the World Cup. But once the World Cup is over, I want to make more in depth, kind of like documentary style videos that are much more entertaining to watch. So keep an eye out for that. But yeah, that video will probably come out after the World Cup. And I really do want to make that video because there's a lot of things that Colombian football needs to do in order to finally improve. But this is just a very disappointing loss. And yeah, I can't believe we lost to Switzerland. It's not even like we lost to a top European team. With all due respect to Switzerland, they're a great team, but they're not a top one. They're not an elite European team. And it's really a missed opportunity because we could have made the quarterfinals and we could have honestly beaten Argentina. I think we were more well suited to facing Argentina than Switzerland are. But you just have to wait and see how Switzerland do against Argentina. Maybe they will prove me wrong. But Colombia, it's very disappointing. And I know a lot of people who are not Colombian fans, they might think, oh, but Colombia, they did have a good tournament. They impressed me a lot. But it's obviously easier for a neutral to say that. But for a Colombian, this is a failure of a World Cup because we needed to make the final eight at least. Losing to Switzerland is not a good look at all. But that's going to do it for today's video. And once again, I apologize for making this video so late. And the next video will probably come out tomorrow before the first game that takes place on July 11th. And well, that game between Argentina and Switzerland, I don't like either team now. Because Argentina, obviously, I see them as rivals in CONMEBOL. And Switzerland now, they made me very upset. Obviously not their fault, but still I'm salty about it. So I think for that game I want Argentina to win, but I still want them to lose the semifinal. Meanwhile, England, Norway, I think Norway is now my new team for the rest of the tournament. So yeah, let's just see what happens for the rest of the World Cup. And make sure that you subscribe to the channel, like I said right in the beginning. Make sure you like the video. And I have nothing more to say, so have a good night, everyone.